Breaking free from addiction is not just a journey of overcoming substances. It is a testament to the strength within, proving that resilience can conquer the chain of dependency. Hello, and welcome to our brand new episode of Adolescents Unfiltered. This podcast is brought to you by the Health and Family Welfare Department, Meghalaya. I am your host, Evangeline, and I have with me today two new guests. And judging by my monologue for today, I think it's clear to our viewers out there watching on what today's episode will be all about. And before we get further into our discussions, I would like our guests to please introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Jerry. I'm a grateful recovering addict and I'm the secretary of Meghalaya Users Forum.
Hi everyone, my name is Arbor. I'm also a recovering drug user, and I'm currently working with a project under National AIDS Control Organization in the prisons.
Thank you so much for being here and for sparing your valuable time and sharing, sending a message across to our viewers and listeners out there. I'm sure they're not just teenagers also watching, and to the community as a whole, to bring about awareness and sensitize regarding this very sensitive issue that we're facing. That we see around us, it's very prevalent, the problem that we're facing of drug misuse and substance abuse, right? So having been through it yourself, I know you will be the best people to even talk about this issue, right? So before we get into your experiences, I would just like you to brief the viewers and listeners out there. What is addiction?
So addiction is a disease. It affects us in three ways: mental, physical, and spiritual. So mentally, once you get addicted to a substance, you always think about the same thing again and again, and you miss your priorities. And then comes the physical part, which is physical allergy. That is, once you start, you cannot stop by your own self. And then comes the spiritual part, which is spiritual bankruptcy. I have no relationship with anyone else. I do not have any relationship with myself. I don't have any relationship with God. The only thing in my life is I need my substance. I need to get high. And that's all. That's all that it is. It is a disease which is incurable, which is progressive, which is fatal. And there's no cure as of that we know as of yet, but then it can be treated. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
So what do you think are the factors that leads towards drug addiction, and why are teens most vulnerable towards this problem?
Should I go first?
Yeah.
So I feel like, since you say teens, maybe because the first thing is we know that teens, the brain has not yet developed.
Yeah.
By saying that, which says that it means that the teens, they cannot see that what happened. The perception is limited, so to say. They will not see the end effect. What will happen if I keep on continuing to take drugs, or maybe I continue smoking, or maybe I continue taking marijuana or cannabis? What happens is, it affects the brain, of course. The thing is that you'll not be able to concentrate. You'll not be able to remember, and like that. It affects more because the brain is not yet developed, and also because I feel, adolescents. Other pressures are there. Probably that's why maybe we can talk about that also, like peer pressure, and sometimes because of the availability of the substance that might help them, maybe because of the availability of people around him, of the environment around him. If he hang out too much with the people who are into drug abuse, who maybe have lots of drug users friends, there's a very high chance for that person to be addicted into drug use.
Also, I think we as a society as a whole has not come into terms with the fact that it is prevalent and it can happen to anyone. Like we've discussed this off camera also, that drugs does not discriminate. It affects everyone, whether you come from a low background or a high income family, it's still going to affect you. But maybe because we can't accept it, or we can't see that it won't happen to me and my family. So even though there are signs right in front of them, we tend to turn a blind eye towards it, right? So maybe for the viewers and listeners out there who are watching, maybe parents or maybe siblings of a person who is addicted towards substance use, what are the signs of addiction?
Basically, like what happens when a person starts using is he likes to be left alone. He isolates himself, and then he's withdrawing from any kind of family events,
Yeah.
and he changes his friend groups. The people who like his parents or her parents know of, like when he changes the friend group, it's like those are the people the parents do not approve of.
Yeah.
So, and starting this behavior of lying in order to cover up their, their screw ups and all, and basically getting moody, aggressive behavior whenever you confront them.
Yeah.
So these are basically the early warning signs that a person is into substance abuse.
Yeah.
If I may add also, like supposing if a person, he has some interest earlier.
Yeah.
Supposing a person, I'm talking from my own
Yeah.
experience. I used to like to draw and paint. I like music. At a certain point of time, after the addiction takes over, all that goes
Goes
away. And then apart from that, the more signs that we can see, like things like where a person needs more money.
Yeah.
Money is because drugs you will not get for free,
Yeah.
and it's very costly. The need for the money, apart from that, like yeah, how the person, because once up, they used to say addiction revolves around three things:
Yeah.
how to get the money, how to get the drug, and again where to use. Nah? So in the toilet, if a person goes to the toilet frequently, and when you
For a
enter,
longer
the
period of
smell is different, that means that's also a red flag. And then sometimes what we usually say to the parents is that sometimes you have to take that authority to check your children, right?
Yeah.
So then check the pockets, check the,
Yeah.
sometimes without them knowing. This when they're not around, you can just check. Because see, usually a person who used to chase drugs, he'll have what? In example, foil, silver foil. Uh, the silver foils mean those foils, right? Silver foils, I think everyone knows. That one, and if a person who injects drugs will have those
Injection.
paraphernalia, right? Injections and then things like that. So, yeah, that I think some of the red flags that we can add.
Yeah. So, if maybe if a parent out there watching are seeing these signs, what is the way forward?
Well, they have to supervise firstly, have open discussions. Uh, Firstly, they'll have to like educate themselves, so that they can also pass on the message to their children
Yeah.
regarding the dangers of drug abuse and all. So, and like Arbor already mentioned, like they need to keep a check on what their kids are up to, what activities are their kids involved in, and basically, I think the best thing is like restrict money,
Yeah.
not to like give too much financial freedom, because as a teenager when I had money, like I didn't know what to do with it. So when I went out with friends and all, so I start spending that money in negative ways. So basically that's it.
My question is like, what is a parent supposed to do? Like, what is the next step after finding out these signs or symptoms in their child?
The best way for them is first and foremost they have to seek professional help.
Yeah.
Person who there are organizations who work who provide services for people who are using drugs, who are hardcore drug users and all that.
Yeah.
And then there are organizations like Jerry is involved in Narcotic Anonymous. They have people who have come out of it. So they can be the counselors. Best thing is we do have adolescents counselors in every civil hospitals. They are also well equipped to handle teens with drug abuse problem, to how to deal with them. Parents will have to, they cannot just keep that to themselves and hide it. No. We have seen many, because I've been working in this field also for almost more than 12 years now. We've seen there are cases whereby parents, they feel shy, to
Yeah.
just go ahead, go
Yeah.
forward, and even seek help.
Yeah.
I've met a parent who says, I don't mind giving him money because I don't want him to go steal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But without realizing, she's making it worse. And sad to say that person now he's no longer there. In fact, he died of overdose.
Yeah.
when there was a time when I spoke to the mother, I said, this is not the way. What he needs is proper counseling. He needs proper support. That is a support that is tailored for addiction. So there are centers out there. Of course, there are adolescence counselors. If it's in the schools, of course, I'm sure there are many schools and colleges now also have counselors. So I think the parents will have to,
But asking a drug, let's go to a counselor, or just getting them to confess, I think it's not an easy job, because they are in that state of mind that they're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
And they're loving the high, or the dopamine that they're getting out of it, that they're not seeing what is correct or what their way forward. They don't want to quit, let's say. So it becomes quite difficult for even the parents to convince them to even go seek professional help.
Yeah, so that means what we need to guide them is the information and misinformation, right? Of course, they might think that it's just something that they do recreationally or once a while, but they need to know, right? So correct information has to be given to the parents of, again, to the child as well, that if he keeps going on this road, this is the end. This is the end product. So what will happen? That's it for your career. That's it for your, none of the drug users, if you ask them, will ever say that, they wish to be a drug user or a drug addict. Yeah. They would wish if they could turn back the hands of time and go back to that incident where they first took the drug, they would wish to come out of it. Maybe most of these guys, because they don't hear, they don't get that awareness that is needed. I feel in my time also, I hardly get any awareness to know that if you do this once, that's it, you're done. We thought, it's no harm experimenting. I thought that way. I didn't know that, after once, it multiplies. So probably the right information is needed. The right guidance is needed. And the parents, of course, they have to, like what Jerry says, I really agree with that. We have to be strict. I mean, we have to check on the ways they walk, the friends they hang out with, even from even social media posts, or maybe what they do online as well. Maybe that might also be one of the cause why the person is taking drugs.
I feel another factor another impact of drug use or substance abuse is it not just affect the user, but the entire family as a whole.
Yes.
Because then even the family members are like up day and night thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And what is the next step? And of course, the user is in his own world and he's not thinking about the well-being of their family members. So in that way, it affects even the family relationship they have with their parents or with their siblings.
Very true. And apart from that, having a user in the family, Mojari, the person, if he's not having the money, he'll take anything from the house. We have cases whereby a person takes the house, the cylinder, he goes and sell it, takes the radio, the TV and sells it. So it becomes a problem to everyone in the family.
There's like a very limited knowledge when it comes to addressing such people, right, who have fallen into substance abuse or substance misuse. We sometimes regard them in a very negative manner, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners out there also don't know what is like the correct term, or most people at first they don't just care, obviously, because there's a social stigma. They think that, oh, he's doing this because it's his choice, right? And you've said earlier that addiction is not a choice.
Yes.
Do you want to maybe just repeat that or say that?
It's very important, like, for the society to understand that addiction is not a choice. It is a disease and it doesn't discriminate. It can reach to anyone. And, there are some factors like genetic factors or environmental factors which, pushes a person towards addiction.
Even biological, I feel.
Yes.
Very true.
So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of social stigma surrounding addiction. And what can we do as a society to help, becoming more understanding of those suffering from this disease we call addiction?
I feel first and foremost, what you're saying, I think UN or the World Health Organization has come up with a handbook, so to say, the words that we use terming addiction. Before we used to use addicts, you used to say addicts, but nowadays they have come up with words like drug user or person with substance use disorder.
Yeah.
That way it lessen the stigma, so to say. And apart from that, as a society, I feel we got to understand, like what you say rightly said, is that it's a disease. So once you take it as a disease, it's like a
We view
person
things.
having a disease. Like, what are diseases? So to say, we think of person having what, BP. He has to take his medicine every day. Uh, that is a disease. A person suffering from sugar, diabetic patient, will have to take the medicine. So if he does not take the medicine, means what will happen to him? Same as a drug person who's into drugs. This person will have to, he has to be treated medically first.
Yeah.
So he needs, first and foremost, is if you catch a drug user, no point beating him. You beat him black and blue. There has been many examples. Even once upon a time in Nagaland, when the NSCNs were very strong, you can look it up. There are examples where they put these drug users in a cage, just like animals. They cage them, they tie them up. But what happens to that guy after he's released from there? The first thing he does is he's run and search for the drug, because that is not healing.
Yeah.
That is just correction. That person is not suffering a moral failure. What we need is proper, like counseling, medication is needed.
Yeah.
Don't expect a person who's suffering withdrawal to listen to you no matter how much you beat, without addressing his withdrawal first. What we need is, at least that person will have to get the medicines.
Yeah.
And there are medicines right now for a person who's into drugs, heroin use. There is medicine like buprenorphine. It is available for free. You don't need to pay 1 rupee. There are organizations in civil hospital. There is another organization, Voluntary Health Association of Meghalaya. There's Manbha Foundation, north of my side, that are giving these medicines. Provided that person has to be registered.
Yeah.
Of course, that is the last resort. But then, usually the best thing is, if the person is having withdrawal, they take him to the hospital, get him, through that phase where he has to be hospitalized, detoxed, and all that. And rehabilitation is very important. So the person needs to attend the counseling sessions more,
Yeah.
Jerry. And they used to say, even after after rehabilitation, if a person spends 6 months in a rehab center without using drugs, he's still just halfway home, they say. There's a saying, even from he's just halfway home. He still needs the support of the family members.
Yeah.
The shnong, not how, we cannot say, oh, he's a drug user, how can I give him a job? But if we can't help him, give a hand to him, he will go back to his old friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way he'll, come back and, get himself up again and, to reintegrate to the society. So that is one thing I feel we just need proper information how to deal with this.
Yeah.
So even in the shnong, by beating or by chasing them away, that will not help.
Yeah.
In fact, it worsened the person. It not just the person, like you said, the family, the whole family suffers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel we have to tackle it step by step, like the right way,
Yeah.
so to say. Yeah.
I agree to you when you said that, by beating the drug users or substance abusers, black and blue is not going to solve a problem. It's a disease. It's like when we speak about mental health also, if you tell a person who's depressed, don't be sad, that's not going to automatically solve the problem, right? And what we need to do is be aware as a society, as a community, as to how we can go forward into helping these people, helping build each other up again. And by discriminating, it's only going to make them worse and it's going to make them, force them actually to go back to their old ways or to their old friends or their old habits. So, I would like you to maybe share to our listeners, why are we putting so much emphasis on this, and why is it that there are many initiatives taken for, preventing this drug use, right? There is obviously a reason for that. There's obviously a reason behind it. It is not just that, a lot of teenagers or kids out there watching, they are being misled or miscommunicated in a sense that they, drugs by, in Hollywood, or if we see in the music industry, is being glorified. And upon my interaction with one of the kid in right now who is in rehabilitation center, I said, what made you start smoking weed? He said, I want to become like Bob Marley, or it's sending across a wrong message.
message.
So do you have anything to say to those kids who thinks that it's a fantasy, it's fun, it's you know?
Yeah, like for example, social media or even artists
Yeah.
these days, what they do is they glorify drugs and they glorify the drug lifestyle.
Yeah.
But what they do not show is the struggles,
Yeah.
the after effect
After
of
effects.
using drugs, like what they go through and how their lives have been impacted by using drugs. So what happens is kids, they only look at the good side,
Yeah.
the good side of using drugs without having any knowledge of what will happen to them in a few years' time, what will they become, and also it is very much needed, to expose, especially I think recovering addicts
Yes.
who can like share their experience, what their lives have become, what they
Yeah.
have lost, all of those things, and what they had to sacrifice just in order for them to stay clean. Lots of us in the recovering addicts community, like we had to sacrifice time, we had to sacrifice all of these things just in order for us to stay clean. But then, like, these things are not shown by the media. The media just shows that, you get high, you have a good time, everything's good, but then they do not show the ill effects. So that's basically the problem. Kids need to understand that.
And speaking of that, speaking of the impacts and what you've lost, can you maybe just share to our viewers and listeners both of your journeys? Let's start with Jerry as to how you started getting into substance abuse.
Yeah, so I was like a normal kid, like every other kid. Okay, I came from a middle class family, like a normal family. I had my dad, I had my mom. I had everything, like everything was normal. So started growing up and all, and then I started getting attractive to the negative side. I started wanting to hang out with guys who are like bigger than me because I felt like they were cool. Even I was getting like the wrong, uh, you know, uh, the
Idea.
wrong idea, you know. So what happened was, at first I did not get into any substance, but then it happened like my father passed away, so that was the first time like uh, I drank alcohol. So slowly, like it progressed. I started drinking firstly, then I used to try to hide the smell and all. But then slowly, I didn't care. I used to go home fully drunk. Everyone used to know, and I didn't care. And like when I was drinking, there was always fights and all. So I didn't like that lifestyle. So I switched to marijuana. So marijuana, it was okay. It was okay. Like for me at that time, I thought that it was okay. I'm not doing any kind of hard drugs. And people used to say that marijuana is a gateway drug, but I didn't believe that at that time. I thought, yeah, I'll manage it, I'll handle it. But then slowly, like when I was still smoking, there like in from among the friend group, one person came up to me and like he gave me this powdered form. So at that time, I didn't really know it was heroin because whenever I saw drugs in the movies, they were always showing cocaine. So it was white in color, and people used to snort. So he showed me like when chase, how to chase, like you apply it in the foil and all, and you burn. So I didn't really know I was using heroin. So I used, and then started becoming addicted to it. I didn't even know that I was like going through withdrawal symptoms the first time. I thought that I was sick, you know. My friends called me up and like they were asking, "You won't come out today?" And bro, I'm sick. I'm having a fever. So they came near my place and they gave me one shot. Like I was fine. Again, I'm fine. So I understood, no, from that day, like I understood that I was hooked. So I did a lot of things during my active using period. Um, Firstly, it started with lies at home. I lied to my mom. Every day I used to ask money for project work, but she never saw any kind of project. And then slowly, my mom started like, she won't give me money anymore. So then from my mom, it went on to my other family members. I used to go only to ask for money. Then even they came to know about it, like they didn't know I was using heroin, but they suspected like, I was using some substance. So it came to a point where like, in order for me to get my high, I used to sell my own blood and all. And slowly, like, in hospitals, like they say, like you can give blood like once in 3 months. What we used to do is we used to go every day. We just change our names, try to change up our appearances, and like we get paid to give drugs and all. So I used to survive like that, and then slowly, because it's a progressive disease.
Yeah.
Slowly, I started stealing. There came a point in my life where if you come to my room, there was just a bed and a table and nothing else because I sold off everything.
Yeah.
And slowly, what happened was like, I couldn't steal anymore. I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't do anything anymore. So what the last choice I had was I needed to sell drugs in order for me to get high. So I used to sell drugs just so that I can get my own dose. So yeah, I used to sell drugs and all, and then I remember like I overdosed the first time I overdosed. That was when like my family members all came together and told me like I needed an intervention. So that was when they sent me to rehab for the first time. But the like what we were discussing earlier, in the rehab when I was there, like my mind was like, yeah, I'm not gonna use anymore.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, try to make myself better again. But when I came out, like family support is always there.
Yeah.
There was always there. Okay, but then nothing else worked. I couldn't continue my studies. I couldn't, nothing. There was no motivation for me in life. So I ended up going back to my old ways. So I've been to treatment 9 times. And finally, like when I hit rock bottom, because every time, like before I go for treatment, like I always needed persuasion from home. My mom used to tell me, please go for treatment, please go for treatment. I used to say, no, I won't go, I won't go. I'll stop by myself. But I always failed, and then I had to go. But then the last time I remember, my last treatment, uh, I was surprised, no? My mom was like, don't go for treatment, no use. Because she saw like I used to go there and like 6 months to a year I stay there, I'm fine, and then when I come out, not even 12 days I'm able to stay clean. So she saw that it was no use. So I called some recovering addicts because I've been in this recovering addict group like even before I came into recovery. So like they came and talked to my mom and all. Like he really needs a treatment. Give him one last chance. So she sent me. She sent me when I was there. I went through a lot, a lot. I remember I had hallucinated, because in rehabs, like like they do not give medicines.
Yes,
Just for 2 days, they give you medicines. So I hallucinated, and then I even couldn't walk. I couldn't, couldn't do anything. Even before my discharge, I was like so thin because I
Couldn't eat.
contracted tuberculosis.
All right.
So when I came out, also it was hard for me because I had so many reasons to use. My health has deteriorated. Everything's not going well. I do not have a job. And most of my family members, the people I care about, are no longer there. I've lost everything. My career is not going anywhere. But then, like, I understood that if I used, it would only make my life worse. It would only make my life worse, and I couldn't do that anymore. So what I did was I stuck with the fellowship, with the recovering addicts, and I did whatever was suggested to me by them. And luckily, like today, I'm here by God's grace. I'm about to be 15 months clean, and it was the first time in my life. I actually celebrated being a year clean because I used to always attend someone else's celebrations. My mom used to tell me, "You always attend and you don't celebrate your own." So yeah, I'm happy, and I'm very happy I got this opportunity to share this with the viewers.
Yeah.
Because addiction, there are only three ends for me. that is jails, institutions, and death. And if I do not arrest my disease, I'll only end up in those three ends. I've already been, to one, which is institution. Luckily, I'm not dead. I've overdosed almost 4 or 5 times, but luckily, I'm not dead. So I'm here, sharing my experience, my strength, and my hope with you guys. And I really want to reach out to other suffering addicts, and because I feel like I can only keep what I have by giving it away. That is the only way I can fill up my spiritual void. And because after being clean, there is always that void inside me. I feel empty. I feel empty. I feel empty. I want something to fill that void up. So what I used to do before, I used to use drugs again and again, again and again. But then I see nowadays, when I get to help out a newcomer or someone who is still suffering, that gives me that rush. It gives me that strength to keep on carrying on. So basically, that's it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm sure a lot of audiences out there watching can, are congratulating you for being right here, right now, and for being in this position, and that you're not just clean yourself, but you're also helping the others who are also suffering. And through your message, I hope that it also helps our viewers and listeners who are maybe not yet have not yet fallen victim into this problem, into substance misuse, but they can maybe shed light or enlighten other friends or family members that they have in their own family, showing your messages and how there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, right? And you have reached in your light, and I hope for all of our viewers and listeners, they also find their light and they can push through this. So what about you, Arbor?
Yes, let me first congratulate again, Jerry. It's very encouraging and very inspiring to hear your story, Jerry. And as for me, my story is a bit different. The why I say that is because initially, I mentioned earlier, I love art music. I still play music. I so initially when I started, I used to be very active in sports. Some of my classmates will remember me because I used to be very fast in running. I represented my school for 3 years consecutive. I used to be best athlete. I never used to dream that I'll end up taking drugs one day. So after my 12, I went out. I went out because of my love for music. I was playing somewhere. So I was introduced to someone who was taking brown sugar. Brown sugar is a waste product of heroin, and you can only take it by chasing. I remember the first time when I took it, I was walking from, I don't know if any of you have been to Calcutta, from Salt Lake City to Meghalaya House. Meghalaya House, then it was in Free School Street. Oh, sorry, Russell Street. Sorry, in Russell Street. So it's like near Park Street. I walked all the way. I never felt tired. So that was my first instant. But then at the same time, it was a very yucky feeling. I'm so sorry to say that, because whatever I eat, everything comes out. I drink also because it was that brown sugar. You end to throw up a lot. I was walking and then throw up, and people were just like looking at shocked. What happened to this guy? Drinking water after 2-3 minutes, I was taking out of water, but I was having that feeling like nothing else. But initially, I thought it's going to be fine. But after 2-3 days, I went searching for that thing again. Again, that dopamine thing comes into picture. So that's how I got addicted to it, and I never end up completing my what I went there for. For 2 years, I was in Calcutta. I never completed. In fact, it was such a waste. I feel sorry for my parents. In fact, until now, I used to think, you know, I feel so bad because I've cheated, on them, lying to them. So because brown sugar is very cheap, then it was very cheap, around 30 rupees, 40 rupees you'll get it. It wasn't, so it was not very costly. Well, then there comes a time when I couldn't take it anymore because after a time of taking, if you don't get it, like what Jerry explained, get that withdrawal, the symptoms.
Yeah.
So there was a time when in Calcutta it flooded, whole Calcutta flooded because of heavy rains and all that. So I end up having a severe withdrawal. And then added to it, I also suffered from malaria.
Yeah.
So I came back to Shillong. I was hospitalized and all that. Then I thought that's the end of me. You know, I'll never take it again. Fine. Then I shifted to another state. I've completed my degree. After my degree, I was working in a call center. I met a friend. Yeah. I've not learned my lesson. I take it again. You know, because he's having brown sugar then. After the first time doing, I end up taking it every day. I mean, that was really bad because why I end up, you know, lying everywhere. I lied to my parents, I lied to my sisters, you know, taking their credit cards, misuse everything. You know, from my organization that I used to work, I used to get these petrol cards. I would not put petrol, but give them the cash for it. So those years, so the amount or the cost of brown sugar is higher. So it comes to 150 rupees like that. Oh, like that it goes, and then it was so bad that there was one time I was riding a friend's bike. I remember, you know, it was so bad that I something happened to the bike. I stopped somewhere. It was not starting, so I thought, okay, I'll come in the morning and take it. But I never woke up in the morning because it was quite in the middle of the night somewhere. And after I woke up, I don't even remember where I kept the bike. You know, I had to pay for that friend's bike. But apart from that, there are many things happen. You know, I got into many fights and all that. That is, I mean, apart from that, you know, my interest in music, my interest in art, you know, slowly subsides. There was no love anymore. In 2004, I composed a song. It was chosen for a Great Indian Rock. Then we used to have this Great Indian Rock. My band got selected from that state, from Pune. We got selected because of that song. In fact, in that song, we were glorifying smoking weed. That song titled is Alone Again. My band then was called Moonstruck from Pune. It was there, and I was glorifying that, you know, smoking and all. I have not realized how bad it was. And then because of that, I was taking wheat and brown sugar. There was one time I was riding myself to office. I was riding, and suddenly I couldn't remember where I'm going. You know, it was like totally blank, totally blank. I couldn't remember where I came from, where I'm going. You know, there's that just that it was becoming really black. Like I don't remember. I'm just like trying to recollect where am I going. At that time, you know, it was in the evening because I'm working in a call center. So there are two elderly people walking, taking an evening walk, the side of the road. There is a pole. I went and hit the pole. Thank God I didn't go and hit the two elderly people. Those people were quite shocked. They were wondering what happened. There was no traffic. I mean, you understand, like in the in the cities, the roads are very wide, and it's like two lanes. I went and hit a pole and hurt myself, and I still went to the office. But then, when I reached the office, they sent me back home. You know, all that made me realize I couldn't take it anymore. Yeah. I mean, I remember I started losing interest in everything. I had to stop. I stopped. You know, I mean, I left that place. I came back to Shillong. I was free. I was able to complete my degree. So my addiction was off and on. So after completing my degree, my master's here in Shillong, I was playing with another band in Shillong. Then another friend of mine, you know, he just brought heroin. I have not learned a lesson. I just want to try again once. That first time again, it landed me. You know, the part of me, my addiction in Shillong, I lost 3 good friends. One guy, he hanged himself because he couldn't take the pain of addiction anymore, because he had started injecting drugs. Oh, he couldn't, and you know, to combine with that, he has some problem at home and with his girlfriend and all that. He hanged himself. The second guy, he ended up having contracting HIV. He came to know that he was having HIV because he was sharing with someone else, sharing a needle. So what he does is, the day he received his salary, he got the heroin and he injected everything, and he overdosed and died. The third friend of mine, he overdosed at Garikhana toilet. You know, I I thought I'm gonna be the fourth guy. I thought that's the end of me. But nothing else. But just I'm grateful to God. You know, God still has a plan for us. That's why we used to say that, just a higher power, just God itself, that we can come out of it. Seriously, I feel through my own will, power, was not able. I wasn't able then. So it happened that particular time there was a crisis in Shillong. There was so much of crackdown happening. So I was searching for heroin everywhere in the city. I met a person who was working in an organization where Voluntary Health Association of Meghalaya. This guy, he introduced me to this medicine, opiate substitute. It's buprenorphine. It's treated as an opiate substitution therapy. The moment I took that medicine, I realized that all the pain, all the withdrawal went. Like after just 5 minutes or something like that, it went off. I realized that that's what I needed. Then I asked the guy, how do I get this medicine? I have to get myself enrolled. I went to that place. But of course, it didn't end there. I was struggling for a few years. But again, I thank God, because why? I get the support. That's where I feel it's important. I wouldn't be right here talking to you guys had it not been from the support that I get from my colleagues that time, from the counselor who counseled me then, the support groups that I usually have sit. And apart from that, I end up working in this organization.
Yeah.
And I received so many other trainings and all that. That capacitated me. I was able to stand and talk. I remember the first time when I gave a sharing,
Yeah.
I was going all the way, man. Seriously, I could feel like, even the listeners were wondering what is he talking about, And I guess that the support that I get, slowly, it helps me.
Yeah.
Then I was able to, I got married very late. In fact, I never thought of getting married also. Once upon a time I thought, that's it for me. Because I have to fight with my own addiction first. I used to have relationships, all broken relationships. I end up hurting everyone. I thought, I better be alone. I mean, like, loner sort of. But then thank God, that support that I get, apart from the support that I get from my family members who didn't chuck me out. Of course, there were times when my dad used to say, I'll break your legs, I'll break your bones and just feed you so that, I don't have to go through this. Thank God he didn't do that.
I'm sure it was just an expression of how he
they were
felt.
frustrated,
Yeah.
right? Because many lies, many things being done, so many, every second day my mom would get a, complain about me like that. So, but again, my story is like different. Like what? So, of course, I had gone for detox for 3 times, 4 times, in fact. And even after detoxification, the second, third day, I was back to drug use. But thank God this thing worked for me, that
Yeah.
medicine worked for me. So even though, like I told you, that it was not initially right away that I was, able to come clean,
Yeah.
but it took quite a long time.
Yeah.
Because of course there are people who will just be able to, get through it without having any medicine and all that. They can come out of it. But then as for me, I feel like, I have to take that medicine. So I end up taking the medicine, and then slowly that's how, and I get a job, and now I'm looking at my own project. I'm having my own project, like prison intervention. So, and having a family and children,
Makes you see
there's
it
no way, because again, I've been empowered so much that there's no way that, we'll go back to that same old, self that I used to be. But again, it's just God's grace. It's just God's grace. I thank God, that He pulled me up. Of course, I wanted to do that. I used to cry at the same time and take drugs. I think you have done that also, huh? Used to cry and take. I throw in at night after taking that. I throw. I said, from tomorrow onwards, no way. Next morning, I'll jump and go and search where I threw it. Like go through the mess and all that. It's like it's that hard. I used to, watch a lot of, spiritual TVs and all that. I used to see people, where they get that instant healing and all. I used to pray, cry in front of the TV also. But that didn't happen to me. But God has a different way, of reaching. But then again, uh, the thing is that, taking drugs it's not something cool. You're a fool to try it. Yeah, you're a fool to do it. You do it once, that's it. The drugs that we have now, it's so adulterated. Uh, before the research used to say that 21 times if you do anything, it becomes a habit. Now the drug, you do it once and that's it. That's it. And for a young guy, because like we mentioned earlier that the brain has not been functioned, that's it. That's the end of his story. And we need, since we are talking about teenagers, we need to have more open conversation.
Yeah.
Open conversation. Uh, Parents, teachers has to have that association together, and more off screen time, because most of our kids now so much of time spend so much time in their phones, right? And there's again another form of addiction.
Yeah.
So they have to have some time away from the screens, right? And have some activities. I feel that is very important. And again, introduce harm of drug use in the curriculums. We need to do that. We need to do that. As the class goes higher, we need to stress more on what the neuroscience effect of the drug does to the brain, or the addiction, whatever addiction it is, how it affects the brain, how it affects the adolescent. I think we need to do that, and we need to have rehabilitation centers in all the districts. Like what the government has, of course, come up with a drug policy. So that's it. I feel if not with the support, I will not be talking to you right now. So that is different from what Jerry is sharing. So here I am. Of course, I'm trying back with my art and painting and music.
Yeah.
But just like that now, I have 2 jobs, so I'm working, shifting myself with 2 jobs now. So again, it's quite hectic.
So thank you so much, Ba, for sharing your story and from how you started and how far you've come in this journey you call life, right? And of course, you've made your mistakes and you want to, you're taking steps into making sure that the others don't do the same. And the fact that you're working in this organization and helping a lot of kids out there, it's really commendable. I really congratulate the both of you for reaching this far and for being here, most importantly, and sharing your stories. So, I want to get, like you said, school children and how they're very much vulnerable towards substance use, right? And I hear a lot of word around the fact that school children are taking some kind of a pill, right? I think that should be brought to light so that other parents and teenagers out there are aware of what it is. I think if I'm not mistaken, the street word is gaba or
Yaba.
yaba. All right. So what is that and what are the impacts?
I've not come across Yaba. Maybe you can share. Jerry.
Even I haven't used yaba, but then the things that I've heard about it is like a synthetic drug,
Yeah, it's
and what basically happens is once you take that, like it helps you stay up. You know, basically like it was used by truck drivers because they needed to drive the whole night. So, but then nowadays I think it's in the market that even school children are using it. But I'm not really aware that yaba is so much available inside the city.
must be costly also, no?
Yeah.
So
I don't know, but what I've heard is a lot of the
my
counselors in my
first
health department.
experience with Yaba is I've read this is when they uncovered the you've heard about the Silk Road, the dark web Silk Road, right? Where they used to sell drugs online and all that. So there was this kid who got this same drug from an online platform.
Okay.
So this kid, because he was being pressured by his parents to study hard, to
Yeah.
do well, so he thought this medicine will help him to stay awake the whole night. But this person ended up becoming an addict. It seems the first guy who usually used that thing is Adolf Hitler himself. He used for his SS troops so that he can stay awake the whole night.
Yeah.
But it seems the side effect is really, really bad for this medicine. It's a drug again, and they disfigured the person's face, the bones. It affects the bones. It affects everything, and there's no substitution. There's no cure, which means that if the person, supposing he's having withdrawals, all the whatever you do in the hospital, it will not help until and unless you take that medicine, that drug itself. So that is very bad. I mean, if the kids are trying it, I think they should be aware that they shouldn't try it because there's no substitution, and it's just death is dear. I mean, I feel it's very dangerous. Synthetic drugs are very dangerous. You cannot play around with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard a lot of the counselors from the health department are being called to schools, which is so scary. And I think a lot of parents or teenagers out there should be aware of the impacts and should be alerted that this is going around. And even I myself did not know that until someone had told me that, we're being called to schools, so many different schools to counsel these students who are taking these synthetic drugs.
I feel, we need studies as such.
Yeah.
We need some research to really happen. We cannot just borrow research
Yeah.
from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
We already have so much of, addiction happening, drug abuse, all this abuse happening. Our government can do something,
Yeah.
find a research. I feel that the police department have started doing this now, right? I've seen some advertisement going on,
Yeah.
which is good. At least we get to know the real picture,
Yeah.
right? How many, who is using what, and what are the effects,
Yeah.
what are, yeah.
So, before coming to the conclusion, I would just like to ask, what are the other, interventions? What are the interventions that are available for drug addiction?
Uh, Intervention, I'll just say first, like what worked for me. Uh, what worked for me was like rehabilitation center,
Yeah.
and then not just that, because to treat, I see like most parents, like like they get misinformed. They keep their kids there for a year, for 2 years. They think that once they enter the rehabilitation center, then they enter like a devil, and then when they come out like an angel.
Yeah.
But that's really not the case, because you should rehabilitation centers should be treated just as a pit stop, like
Yes.
the initial rush, which is needed, like let's say 3 months or 6 months.
6 months,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then after that, the real fight begins outside.
Yeah.
So outside support groups are needed,
Yeah.
and like Arbor already mentioned, like recreational activities,
Activities.
skill building activities should be there, so that the person who is addicted gets the motivation to stay clean. And also like Arbor was saying, this opiate substitution therapy. So opiate substitution therapy is also like, if people take it like you did, like it can really help a person who cannot
Very true.
like stay without the substance,
It's
but then
supposed to be a last resort.
yeah. So I feel like in when it comes to OST, I feel like the people who are into OST, like they should get the proper information, and like and they should be informed. If you use that with other substances, it will only harm you more.
Yes.
So yeah, basically those are it, and there should also be community-based awareness
Yeah.
and all, and even like the headman, should take some initiatives, and he himself at first should like get the knowledge of drug users, of drugs, different types of drugs, what happens to people, to a person when he starts using and all. So so that he can like help out.
Yeah.
Because in the community they see the headman as their leader. So if the headman discriminates an addict, or if any kind of body, like discriminates an addict, beats an addict, threatens an addict, that's not the solution. The solution is, you need to understand them, you need to talk to them and all, offer them help. Do not criminalize them. Do not criminalize them, like support and don't punish. That's the
Yes.
movement, that campaign also, we did that. And so if we start doing this, like things can get better.
Yeah.
I think initiatives have already been taken by the government. Like they're starting this thing, I think in Molai only, where they're like implementing this rehabilitation thing. It's not yet effective as of now, but then like other places can also like can also take initiatives, just like Molai is doing. So when there's a rehabilitation center, even if there are 10 people there, at least two of them, if they stay in recovery, that's like a great achievement. That's a great achievement. So, these are the things which needs to be addressed. And the main thing is, like, people, they really need to understand that addiction is a disease. It can happen to anyone. And if they treat it as a disease, then they can
View
be a little bit sympathetic. They can understand the addict, and instead of looking at them like a criminal, So basically, that's it.
It's so sad that we are actually, as a society, have not reached there yet. And not just as a society as a whole, but sometimes even as parents, we fail to understand that. And upon my interaction with one of the kids in rehabilitation center, he had been relapsing over and over again. And I said, why does that keep happening? And why do you keep relapsing back? He said, whenever I go back home, everyone in my community discriminates me. They don't want anyone around me, so I'm always alone. And not just that, is as if that is not worse enough. And then his own parents are like always, always still doubting him, doubting his abilities, and instead of helping support him to to stay clean. So when I asked, would you have relapsed if your parents were more supportive, or they had trusted you more and showed more support? And then he said, yes, I wouldn't be here again if that was the case. So it's quite sad, actually.
Yeah, talking about that also, I just want to add, already there are interventions that are already there. Our society has yet to approve all that.
Yeah.
National AIDS Control Organization has come up with 2 programs. It's called a harm reduction program. One is this opiate substitution therapy, and another is syringe exchange program. People usually think that by giving someone a needle to inject, it's like encouraging. It's not that, actually. This is why the same thing is done all over the world. We've seen, apart from drug addiction, the high rise of HIV/AIDS is there. Teenage pregnancy also is there, because they are engaged into drugs, and because females are engaged into drugs, female adolescents are engaged into drugs. They have been used as just for them to get drugs. They have even sell their own body, so like that. So there's this program that is called NSEP program. Most of Shillong, they don't even approve that. I'll tell you that we are supposed to, in order to lessen the spread of HIV/AIDS, we're supposed to have set in program places where there are hotspots, where we know there are lots of drug users. We are supposed to have a place where these drug users can come and collect a syringe, a new syringe. This new syringe will help him at least. That is because you cannot tell a person who's still using drug not to stop using. But at least what we can do is give him a new syringe. At least he will not infect himself with other diseases, blood-borne diseases. We are still yet as a society to accept that. That is one thing. And then like Jerry said, we need treatments is very important. So far till now, we have treatment centers are very costly. Again, one more thing. I feel even when it comes to treatment, of course, we might have a good thought about the person. Maybe he is an addict or a drug user. We want him to stay clean. But we cannot, there's a thin line with us, intruding, doing against his will. It has to come from him also. So we have to remember this person also has the right to choose. Of course, he wants to go to a rehab center, well and good. He wants to, all that. We have to remember that like we're still human beings, that we have our rights, right? So it is very good that the government has come up with some initiations. All this, we'd love to see it happening, not just in paper, but at least happening. Like rehab centers in all the districts, government-run rehab centers in all the districts. We need that. We need more counselors. Counselors, we need a lot of counselors. Especially the adolescents counselors. We really need, counselors who are trained and at the same time, who are tailor-made for this specific area. That is one thing. Of course, we can go on and on. In fact,
So, you were saying about something about the society being very discriminatory against drug users. What kind of message would you like to give to the leaders out there? So maybe the youth leaders, or Rong Bashnong or Rang Badong, anything you would like to say, or even a teenager watching against discrimination.
Okay, I'll go first. First thing I feel, even though no matter we see, in Kasi, we see a person who takes drugs, who's walking, but just remember, deep down, that person, he is crying for help. He is crying for help. even though he might not say it himself, but he is a person who needs a lot of help. Uh, Maybe if a door opens, he might just, admit to it and say, I need, I need help. So these are the people who needed help. By We have to, sympathize. I mean, empathize in such a way that we understand that, like we keep on saying, it's a disease, it's a disease. It is a disease, whether you like it or not. Well, the organization says it is a disease. So the person is suffering from a disease. We cannot, you cannot go and beat a person who is taking blood pressure medicine and tell him not to take the medicine anymore.
Yeah.
That's a crime. Again, it applies the same thing here also. So we, we have to. Coming into a question you said, you mean the question you said?
What can they do?
They do, right?
Yeah.
The message to the.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. We have to, again, by not discriminating people a lot, we have to understand them, give them chance to prove themselves, and open discussion is needed.
Yeah.
And even from the Shnong also, we have to, from time to time, get the experts coming in to shed light on how to deal with addiction, how to go about, what are the treatment centers that are there, what kind of treatments can be done, because not all treatment is okay for
Okay.
Jerry might not be okay for OST.
Yeah.
I might not be okay for just going to it's like that. So different people will need different types of treatment. We have to understand all that. I feel there are so much of need to know things in our society right now. We need more of information. In fact, we need more people coming together and discuss this matter. Yeah, that's how I feel. And for kids who are there, it's better not to even try it. The first time you do it again, it will do the damage. So better, look from now on. I hope they look at a drug user at a different with a different eyeglass, so to say. They need help. They need help. Of course, there are many things that they do which is not good, but of course, that the law will do its own, take its own course. But so far, people needed help. That is just the way. The the more we support, the better it becomes. We will come out of it. Those guys who are into drugs, they'll come out of it initially with the support of everyone. Yeah.
Jerry, do you have an end note that you would like to end this podcast on for our viewers and listeners?
I would just like to end by saying that please remember that addiction is a disease. Recovery is possible with the proper support, proper help from everyone, not just family members, but even the society. And to parents, I would just like to say, please, inform your kids about the dangers of drug addiction. Have an open discussion about drugs, about sex, whatever it is, to inform your kids. And kids, I would just like to say, like, no matter what you are, like, you want to do, what you are trying to do, please also look at the long-term effects. Because when you look at just the short-term effects, you just look at the good days and you do not see the bad things which comes with it. That's just foolish. So that's it.
And just to add one more, I feel we need our institutions that are there here right now in our state. We need to engage more with something like Red Ribbon Club, which Media AIDS Control Organization is doing. It's having in all the colleges. They encourage, topics on drug abuse, topics about HIV, about teenage pregnancy and all that. The other colleges also needs to incorporate that, have from time to time have these events, have these awareness programs, at least make our kids aware.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again for being here, for sharing your stories and your insights on what it is truly like behind the curtains and what you actually go through, getting into substance abuse. And I hope the viewers and listeners out there watching, you have been able to take back something from our episode. And once again, congratulations to the both of you for being right here, right now, for being so strong and for being able to, fight this disease, And of course, this is a clear example that we alone cannot do it by ourselves. We need a community to come together and help build one another, right? So it's not just against any type of physical disease, but also diseases like this that we need we need the support most as a community. So thank you for watching, and thank you. Please do comment, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below what you think about this episode. And if any of our viewer or listener out there is going through this disease we call addiction, please feel free to reach out to the number down below. It's a toll-free number of counselors who can help you guide through this process with you. And if you feel like you need the help, please don't be afraid to reach out. The first step into curing this disease is just acceptance, and finding just admit that you are going through a problem, right? Which all of us fail to do as human beings. We don't like saying that we have a problem. You feel like you'll be deemed as weak, or especially with a problem like drug addiction, sometimes your morals is in questions, or you're scared of the discrimination. Know that there are people like this in our community who are waiting for you to come out, to reach out, and please feel free to do that. And thank you. Please join in for our next episode.